On today's show, the Hawks get a second straight win in their first game after the deadline. It's always a weird day, but the Hawks emerged victorious. We'll get into all of what transpired, the Jock Landale experience, and much more, and it's coming up right now.
You are Locked On Hawks, your daily Atlanta Hawks podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, friends. Welcome to episode 2162 of the Locked On Hawks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the number one sports podcast network. I am your host, Brad Rowland, coming to you on a Thursday evening into Friday here in the early portion of February. Today's podcast brought by the folks at FanDuel Sportsbook. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. If you're a new customer at FanDuel, bet just $5. You get $200 in bonus bets if you win that first bet. Check it out now at FanDuel. And if you're watching on YouTube, you will always have seen this, but this is my second podcast of the day from State Farm Arena. I am still displaced for those that have been asking. I appreciate you inquiring and checking on me and all that stuff, but my apartment got flooded last week, still displaced, so I'm recording the second time today from the arena. And I have to say, it's been a very, very busy week around the entire NBA, including with the Hawks and on this podcast. So earlier today, I did a deadline recap episode on a Thursday afternoon. Last night, deep into the night, I talked about the Porzingis-Kuminga Buddy Hield trade that is now official. By the way, prior to that, V. Krejci got traded and all kinds of Jock Landale, who we'll talk about a lot more on this podcast, was added for the Hawks, and I talked about that last night as well. It's been a very busy show, and the game on deadline day is always weird. It doesn't always happen, but I don't know, maybe half the league played tonight, and even more weird when the team that you cover, like the Hawks, has made 4 trades in the last week. But the game still has to go on, and the show must go on. And please listen to the podcast. Please make us your first listen each and every day. Please subscribe and tell your friends about all of the deadline coverage. But we'll dive back into a traditional show of ours, a post-game episode on a Thursday. And again, please forgive any background noise as I am still live in the arena. The Hawks got to win on this Thursday. If you didn't watch the game, you can stop there if you want to. The big picture is that the Hawks won this game, but it was not always pretty. The Hawks were actually big favorites. They were 9-point favorites. It's a big number at FanDuel in this game. The Hawks were still without Okongwu, so they were very short-handed in the front court of this one, but Utah came in. They played only 8 guys in the entire game. They had no incentive to win, which is part of this as well, but the Hawks were favored despite the absence of Okongwu and the surprise start of Jock Landale. But Atlanta trailed for a lot of this game. They were down by as many as 12. They were not in control at any point of this win. They closed the gap, took the lead late, and then after the Jazz tied it in the last minute of the game, Nickeil Alexander-Walker hit the game winner with about 2 seconds to go to give the Hawks a steal of a victory, basically. So as far as what we do on the podcast, usually if you're a new listener, got to dive into how this game unfolded with my analysis that's more big picture early on, and then later in the pod, some more granular stuff, observations, etc. But before I get into the full analysis, I just have to say this is about as ugly of a win as you will ever see in the NBA. You're playing a team that wasn't necessarily trying to win with their substitutions late in this game, for example. The players always try to win, keep that in mind, but Utah didn't have their best player on the court down the stretch. The Hawks did not play very well in this game, but they got a win, and a win is a win is a win in the NBA. And for me, you cannot take wins for granted in the league. So I always talk about the fact that, nothing's ever assured as far as winning games. Nothing's ever assured as far as losing games. Like the Hawks have had some big upsets in the last couple of seasons. The Hawks have had some bad losses last couple of seasons. So I always push back on like, hey, this is an easy win, or it's not ever like that in the league. These guys are all pros. So I'm going to tell you on this podcast that the Hawks did not play very well overall, because they didn't, honestly. But they won the game, and it's a results-based business. So that's important to keep in mind. And because they won, this game is going to be better known probably as the Jock Landale game in some respects, rather than a highly disappointing loss. Someone asked me early on when the Hawks were losing on Twitter if this, like, what my response would be to this game being a loss for the Hawks. And I would have been like, it's pretty rough. It's a pretty bad loss. Not a catastrophic one because of all the weirdness around this game. But this is a game that you need to win if you are a serious team. And the Hawks are trying to be a serious team, and they won the game. So overall, I would say the Hawks won this game because the offense did enough to overcome the defense. Utah is the worst defensive team in the league this year by the numbers. So that's definitely part of why the Hawks were able to score at a high level. Utah played very small, kind of lacked a rim protection element throughout this game. But Atlanta had a 125 offensive rating. That's very, very good. And they had that despite the fact that they couldn't make a three for the majority of the game. Other than Jock Landale, who made 5 threes, we'll come back to him later on, the rest of the team was 3 of 27 from 3 in this game. 3 of 27. One of those 3 makes was Dyson Daniels, who is not exactly a plus shooter right now. The following shots happened from 3-point range. Ricochet, 0 for 4. Jalen, 0 for 5. Nickeil, 0 for 3. McCollum, 0 for 6. Asa Newell, 0 for 2. That is 5 guys who took multiple threes and didn't make any of them. They also didn't make a shot in this game. And they still, as a team, shot 23% from 3. And usually when that happens, you're in trouble to some degree on offense. But the Hawks still were able to score at a pretty elite level on a per possession basis because they were able to exploit Utah's weaknesses defensively by attacking the rim. So the Hawks had a season high 76 points in the paint in this game. That's a great number for anyone in any situation. They took almost half of their shots, according to Cleaning the Glass, at the rim. That's a huge number, like a 95th percentile outcome. And they basically lived in the paint the entire game. If anything, the Hawks probably settled a little bit too much for some like mid-rangers and long jump shots, but the Hawks were able to get to the paint at will in this one. They were 40 of 63 on twos. That's almost 2/3 of your shots from 2-point range. That's obviously a great ratio to kind of overcome the bad perimeter shooting in this one. They also tied a season high with 19 offensive rebounds in this game. Part of that is that the Hawks are not very good on the glass offensively. They are a bottom 5 team in that area, but they also missed a lot of threes. But the extra possessions in this game were still helpful in a tight game on offense. It's second chance points were definitely in the offing for the Hawks. Also, they took care of the ball. 10 turnovers in this game. That's a very good sign in general. Atlanta had 4 different 20-point scorers in this one. The big crazy game was Jock Landale. We'll talk about more later on in this pod, but Jock Landale came out of nowhere to start this game and play a lot and was just fantastic. But beyond that, Jalen had a historic triple-double. Nickeil had 23 points and the game winner, and they got 20 huge points from Corey Kispert off the bench that were not to be overlooked, I would say. And overall, the offense was really good. Like, there was a few players that struggled pretty badly. McCollum and Ricochet were the two that I'd point to for sure, who had really, really rough games on offense. But aside from that, the Hawks got a good process performance on offense. If they shot normally from 3, they would win this game pretty comfortably, I think. But they overcame some of the defensive foibles, some bad shooting, and really got to the rim and exploited Utah's weaknesses. Defensively, I have to say it was not particularly good from the Hawks. They had about a 120 defensive rating. I guess a team that has a good coach and they run good stuff offensively. The Jazz have been pretty good at times this year on offense, but still, too many breakdowns in this game defensively for the Hawks. They got drilled on the defensive glass as they have too many times this season, including a sequence late that almost cost them the game where the Jazz just got the ball over and over and over again at the end. They gave up 58 points to the paint and 40% from 3. Tough combination there defensively. They only forced 11 turnovers. Like, usually the Hawks need to be ball hawking in order to have a good defensive game. And here they only had 3 steals in the entire game. That's a very low number for the Hawks. So they were not like every play was a disaster, but they just weren't crisp defensively. And credit the Jazz. They made some tough shots. Bryce Sensabaugh made a bunch of tough shots. Nickeil made a bunch of tough shots. But guys like Isaiah Collier got to their spots too easily against McCollum, for example. Filipowski made a couple shots. Lauri Markkanen is really good. So all that said, the Hawks won this game, but it was closer than it needed to be because the defense was just not crisp enough. And of course, the Hawks did miss a lot of threes. Still, like, I don't want to damp it down too much. It is oddly nice to get a win when you don't play well. That might sound funny, but like, it's a sign of a more intriguing team that you don't have to play great to win. It's a long season. Not everybody plays great every game. That's impossible to do. But these are the kind of games that, while I mentioned the schedule is pretty friendly for a little while here for the Hawks on paper, you got to win these games. Like, there's nothing assured about winning these games, even at home. The Hawks have struggled here at times this year at State Farm Arena. Big game Saturday, all that stuff. But they're back within a game of 500. They have a chance to get back to 500 on Saturday against Charlotte, who's red hot, by the way. But look, I started here. I'll end here. Jock Landale was tremendous. A fun story we'll talk about more in a second. But a win is a win is a win in the NBA. And a few weeks from now, only the entire sicko population will remember at all that the Hawks had to kind of grind this one out at the end. In the standings, it's a win, and that's kind of all that matters, even if it was, between you and me, not the best performance in the world from this Hawks team. All right, in a second, I'll dive into how this game unfolded. Again, headlined by Jock Landale, plus my player evaluations later on in the podcast. It's coming up in just one moment. Basketball is heating up right now. DoorDash has a way to keep fans in their bag the entire way through. The way you're just watching the highlights, checking out the tunnel fits, or mounting your favorite players, DoorDash makes the entire season more fun because every single player has their bag. With DoorDash, fans can have one as well. They keep you stocked up with snacks and your gear being fresh and your watch party fits and vibes always on point at DoorDash. Where there are nights when your team stresses you out, you let DoorDash become your post-game therapy because sometimes you just need dessert or a snack late at night. If someone needs chips at midnight, DoorDash is built exactly for that if you want that. If the group chat tells you to pull up, DoorDash makes sure that you're actually prepared with snacks or cups for a phone charger, perhaps for the friend who's always a 2% battery on their phones. We'll have that friend in our lives, don't we? And for me, when I'm covering the game late in the evening, I'll dial up DoorDash as my go-to for dinner with tons of different favorite spots in my rotation. From tip-off to overtime, stay in your bag all season long and order on DoorDash. Get snacks, drinks, gear, food, whatever you actually get you through the entire season delivered right to your door with DoorDash. DoorDash in your bag all season long. New year, new systems. This is the time of year when a lot of us actually look at messy parts of our businesses and just think there has to be a better way to do this. And now there actually is. If you want your communication streamlined, it's one of the best, quickest upgrades you can actually make to your business. That's why today's show is brought to you by the folks at Quo, spelled Quo, the smarter way to run your business communications. Because when your team is reachable, organized, and communicating in one place, you're not just working cleaner, you're actually creating more opportunities to connect with your customers. I love that Quo personally makes every single thing simple. Your whole team can call and text from the same shared business number so nothing gets missed. Everyone sees the full thread, makes replying faster and more personal. It works from your phone and from your computer as well. You can even keep your existing number if you want to. Plus, they have smart AI tools at Quo that automatically log and summarize calls, highlight next steps, and so much more. So details never actually slip through the cracks. It's no surprise. Quo is the number one business phone system on G2, trusted by more than 90,000 businesses from solar operators to growing teams. Make this the year where no opportunity and no customer slips away from you. That's why try Quo for free and get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/lockedonnba. That's QUO for Quo, QUO.com/lockedonnba. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. Thank you for being here, as always, on today's show and making Locked On Hawks your first listen each and every day. If you ever want to go ad-free, get some more perks along the way, you can join the Everydayer Club right now. Tap the link in the show notes to learn more about it and join us there. And we'll be diving back in now to how this game unfolded. And I want to begin with Jock Landale, who started this game at center. That's pretty surprising on its own because Jock Landale was not on the roster as of literally last night. So a lot happened here. I was pretty effusive by the standards of a fringe transaction about the Hawks adding Jock Landale for the price of basically nothing on this podcast. I love that deal when it happened. I did not see this coming, nor will this be the regular experience for Jock Landale, but he drove in from Memphis last night, drove in, and joined the team this morning at shoot-around. But with the Kongwu out, it did kind of make sense to have Landale be at least active and available, but he ended up starting because the Hawks are so shorthanded at center right now, and it made sense to pair him a little bit more with the defensive players what the Hawks have, which is their starters, basically. Like having him out there with Dyson, Nickeil, Zach, and Jalen makes sense because if there's a weakness for Landale, it's his defense. So anyway, that worked out well. It was very evident to me, even in real time, that Landale was like asking the bench what to do a lot of the time. Quinn said post-game that he learned like one inbounds play, basically, and they were teaching him stuff along the way. He's obviously a pro, which Quinn backed up and knows what he's doing, but it's just has to be said and stressed. He didn't even have a practice. Yeah, he was at shoot-around today, but it was like a loose shoot-around. Like you don't get a lot of install done there, and that is crazy. Didn't have every call at his fingertips. Like Landale played great. It's a great story, and he was just massive. Again, hit 5 of the Hawks' 8 threes in the game, and beyond that, had 6 of his rebounds, 26 points, 11 rebounds. Just a monster game in 31 minutes for a guy who showed up literally last night. Early on, he had a good start, had a big block early on. It was just interesting. The Hawks missed a lot of shots early on. They missed their first 7 shots in this game, and then allowed a big run mid-quarter after Ricochet, who was really struggling in this game, threw a bad pass mid-first quarter. Rotationally, no surprises, other than a mild one, I would say, with Christian Koloko. Now, Koloko got a DNP in this game. Given the opponent, it isn't surprising to me. Utah played the vast majority of this game with no center. They started Filipowski, who can play center, but he's much more of a perimeter offensive-oriented player on offense. So the Hawks generally could have gone smaller, and they did. So Koloko getting a DNP here does not mean he's never going to play again, but that's notable to me. And then Keaton Wallace with the DNP was expected, I would say. So 9 guys played. It was the clear 9th was Mo Gay, actually. They went to more Asa Newell than I probably would have in this one. Plus Kispert and McCollum off the bench to go along with the 4 starters. And, of course, Landale got to start at the 5. Atlanta was down 1 at the end of the first quarter. The Jazz shot it well from 3. The Hawks did move the ball very well in the first half, in the first quarter, but actually were only 8 of 19 on 2s before actually getting really hot from there, from that point forward. The Jazz had 2 big runs in the second quarter, a 9-0 run where the Hawks missed a bunch of threes, and then the Jazz went on another big run. The Hawks were actually down by 12 points late in the first half after Quinn had not a bad challenge, but like a losable, likely to lose challenge. Like Jalen got a offensive foul call that was, I hated that call, but it's a challenge that you probably weren't going to win. So it was a frustration challenge. Like it's magnified by the original bad call, but not the greatest process there from Quinn. But after the Hawks went down by 12 late in the half, they ended the half on an 18-5 run to actually take the lead at halftime. Landale hit 4 threes and had 17 points in the first half. That's crazy. He tied his career high in both of those categories in a single half. The Hawks defensively were really rough, but offensively they had 19 assists, even with bad shooting, which is, again, indicative of positive process. They led this game early in the third quarter, then it kind of ran cold. They had this lineup that I just could not understand why they did it. Me and Kevin Chouinard were sitting in our usual slots and like just going crazy. Like, what is this lineup? The Hawks played defensively with a group for about 5 minutes with McCollum and Kispert in the backcourt, plus Asa Newell at center. And the theory of that lineup on defense is just not there. And also the results weren't there either. In fact, the Jazz scored on 11 consecutive possessions to end the third quarter. 11 times in a row, they had the ball and scored at least 1 point. 11 times in a row. That can't happen. They allowed 24 points in 4 minutes, but the Hawks down by 4 points because they just could not get a stop. The Hawks had a 120 offensive rating in the third quarter, which is very good, and they lost the quarter by 5 points. They just could not stop the Jazz, especially with that unit that didn't make any sense defensively at the end of the quarter. Now, once they stopped getting up a bucket every single time, they stabilized a little bit. They couldn't make a 3, though. The Hawks were 2 of 17 from 3 in the second half. So that's why, I should say that's why. It's part of why the Hawks were not able to run away in this one is that they couldn't make a shot. But defensively, it also was rough throughout. It was a 1 or 2 possession game. It was between 0 and 4 points the entire, I'm not kidding you, the entire fourth quarter. There was never a lead of more than 4 on either side. So I'll fast forward a little bit. It was just a lot of back and forth in the fourth quarter. I will note this. I hated the Hawks closing with McCollum in this game. Part of the reason, I know this is my friend Tyler Jones' bit recently, a frequent guest of this podcast. Part of the reason to have CJ be on the roster and not Trey is that like you can have some flexibility. You don't have to close with CJ. He's a good player. He's been really good lately until today, but he was really bad in this game, and the Hawks closed with him anyway. That didn't make sense to me at all. Kispert was better the entire game, I thought. On the Utah side, they closed without Markkanen, who's their best player by far, and they were, again, tanking is complicated. The players on the court are trying to win the game. The coaches with the talent on the court are trying to win the game. The tanking maneuver is sitting your best players, and the Jazz did that at the end of the game, which, again, kind of but maybe it takes easier on the Hawks late in this one. Not really subtle from Utah to sit their one and only standout player in Markkanen. So fast forward, Jalen scores, cut the lead to 2 with 2.5 minutes to go. Hawks got to stop, and they had a chance to tie the game, and then Jalen threw a pretty bad outlet pass that was picked off and turned it over. Then Utah got 3 consecutive offensive rebounds. They didn't score this possession, but they had the ball for 90 seconds, a minute and a half without scoring because they just kept going all the way down the shot clock, shooting, missing, getting a rebound, and resetting again. Finally, the Hawks got to stop, and then the biggest shot of the game until the final shot was the Jock Landale catch-and-shoot 3 for the lead. One of their 2 made threes in the entire half, and Landale played the hero card with that jumper. Then the Hawks go up by 1. They get a stop, and this time they give up another offensive rebound. That's 4 in 2 possessions on an unfortunate, this time, bounce that went a long way into the backcourt. And finally, they got to stop after a review to determine the shot clock. It was a lot of weird stoppages in this game, but they get a stop. They get Dyson off the court, which is a good decision with the Jazz needing to foul. McCollum very, very nearly throws the ball away in the backcourt. It got to Jalen barely. That was fortunate. And they got the ball to Nickeil, who made both after he was fouled to put the Hawks up by 3 with 14 seconds left. I said in that moment, hey, get McCollum off the court and get Kispert off the court. One of those things happened. It took McCollum off the court, which is the right decision, but the Hawks chose to have Kispert on the court defensively rather than Richache or Moge, for example. And yes, Zach was struggling in this game. It was his worst game that I've seen him play in a while. But he's still a better defender and a taller defender and a better defender generally than Kispert. So I say that now. Kispert was in, and they involved him in a nice action that Will Hardy drew up, went right at him in a two-man action, and inexplicably, up by 3, Kispert is backpedaling well below three-point line. I don't know where he was going. It was not a great executed play. To Utah's credit, it was a good action by them. They made the shot to tie the game, but it was a botch from the Hawks defense. The Hawks, to their credit in this spot, and Quinn was asked about a post-game by Lauren Williams of the AJC. Quinn elected to go without a timeout in the tie game. They get it to Nickeil, and he makes a very tough jump shot. That was the game winner. He actually hit the rim multiple times before falling in. A little bit of good fortune there. And look, Nickeil's been great all year long. That was a big shot from him. That was a quality look. It was a tough shot, but a makeable one from him. He was good in this game. And Utah calls the final timeout. They got a shot up at the buzzer. Dyson did a good job contesting without fouling, and they miss it, and the Hawks escape with a 2-point win. So, I mean, it was really kind of funny how many things went against the Hawks and also went for the Hawks down the stretch. The shooting, 2 of 17 from 3 in the second half. Then you get the weird play at the end with the thrown away outlet pass. Nickeil's shot somehow falls in despite bouncing off the rim multiple times. Basketball is weird. It's a weird game, weird day, weird everything from the Hawks. But in the end, they got the win, and they'll be running away from this one as fast as possible with that victory. All right, in a second, I'll dive into how the players performed in this one, headlined by Jalen and Landale. We'll get into all that and more in just one moment. It's the last call for football on FanDuel this season. One final Sunday, one last kickoff. Final chance to get on the action before the NFL season comes to a close this Sunday. It's Super Bowl 60. It feels making sure that you're getting right in the middle of the action with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. Whether you're backing a favorite, running with the underdogs, or winning one last thing in parlay, this is the game that everyone's been waiting for all season long. For predictions turning into plays, stats turning into storylines, and every single snap feels bigger than the previous one. Plus, at FanDuel, it's everything you're looking for from pregame lines to live lines, point spreads, over-unders, money lines, futures, live bets. It's all there for you. And they have all kinds of offerings across the sports betting landscape. That includes basketball, which we're going to talk about all the time on this podcast. They have hockey and golf and tennis, baseball, soccer, MMA, tennis, boxing, everything else in between. It's all there for you at FanDuel. And they have the perfect way to kick off the season, make Super Bowl even more exciting. Kick off until the final whistle. If you are a new customer at FanDuel, bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win that first bet. That's $5, $200 in bonus bets if you win on FanDuel if you are a new customer. Make it count, because after the Super Bowl, the football season is over. It's the last call for football on FanDuel, an official partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, and to the bench first. 4 guys off the bench for the Hawks in this game took part in the game, I should say. Moge played the least, 9 minutes off the bench for Mo, 2 points, 4 rebounds, and a foul in 9 minutes. I thought he probably should have played a little bit more than he did, but he wasn't spectacular. He was fine. -5 in the game. Mo did a decent job. Going smaller was reasonable, I thought, against this opponent, but I thought Mo over Asa a few times would have probably been helpful, but no big deal there. Speaking of Asa, 9 points, a couple nice moments along the way. Quinn was definitely complimenting Asa's performance in this one. I thought he was a little bit overstating that. I think Asa was pretty good in the first half, and then the second half, in that third quarter in particular, was just like really rough defensively. But to defend Asa, playing at center is just not going to work defensively. It's very clear to me. So if you're going to do that, just play Mo there. But regardless, Asa had 3 offensive rebounds, at least played well there, but a couple of bad jump shots along the way as well. McCollum had a brutal game. Honestly, there were 2 guys that really struggled in this one. It was McCollum and Richache, but McCollum, it was not good. There was really nothing good about the way that McCollum played. On defense, he got picked apart. Isaiah Collier was just like lighting him up repeatedly. He also missed all 6 of his threes, 8 points on 12 shots, didn't have a rebound in the game. He did have 3 block shots, which is very strange, but after, just to be defensive of CJ, he actually came off a stretch before this where I believe he had something like, he was averaging like 20 points a game on elite efficiency for like the last week and a half, 2 weeks. So he's been playing better and playing well, honestly. But tonight, it was not his night, and he probably played too much, and there you go. On the bright side, Corey Kispert offset that. He was really good in this game. He was the only other guy other than Lando who shot the ball well from three-point range, hit 2 threes. He was also 5 of 5 inside the arc, got the line 4 times, 20 points in 25 minutes, very efficient, 2 rebounds, competed defensively, had the one mishap late, but that wasn't like glaring enough. In a normal play would have been like, okay, what happened there? But it wasn't, crazy. I thought he played very well, honestly. They needed him. All those points were important, and his role will be interesting moving forward. You got him and Buddy Hield and Kuminga, and we'll kind of tackle all that later on, but there's a lot of mouths to feed now, but Kispert is seemingly fully entrenched, and I thought he played very well off the bench in this one. As noted before, Richeche struggled badly. Didn't score on 8 shots, 0 from the floor, 0-4 from 3, 0-4 from 2, 6 rebounds, did have a steal and 3 fouls. I thought, defensively was not too bad. There was one moment I can stick in my head right now that was a breakdown by him, but offensively just couldn't get a shot to go and had a couple bad passes as well. So a night to forget for Zach. He played, I thought, pretty well on Tuesday. Doesn't mean he's terrible. Like every time a guy has a bad game, it's like, oh, this guy's terrible. Well, no, he's not. He wasn't good in this game, though. He was pretty bad in this one. No question about that. But hopefully one to forget for him. Dyson was rock solid, as he almost always is. 11 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists for Dyson, plus 9 in the game. Made a 3, was 4 of 10 on 2s, not like his best finishing game in the world, but I thought he was good defensively, usual Dyson stuff. Got into the paint quite a bit, set up other shots. Him and Landale are Australian teammates, and they fed off each other in this game quite a bit, both with back cuts, and they a lot of two-man game. That's a good little wrinkle for when Landale is playing more in the future. So I thought Dyson was rock solid. And then the 3 standouts offensively were Nickeil, Landale, and Johnson. Nickeil hit the game winner, plus 23 points on 9 of 12 on 2s. Didn't make a 3 in this game. Actually, it was a long stretch of Nickeil making a 3 in every game for a long time that I think came in tonight. I'm checking this now as I'm talking to you. But yeah, Nickeil had made a 3 in every game as a Hawk. No, that's not true. Every game dating back to November 2nd until tonight. So that was a streak that's over now for Nickeil. But he was really good in this game overall. 5 assists, no turnovers, quality defense. Like he had the biggest shot of the game at the end with a game winner. And I thought he always plays so hard. I just love Nickeil, honestly. Like it's hard to not really like covering him and watching him play. He plays hard. He gives his body on the line all the time. He's a big shot maker. Having a great season. He just is. So there's that. Then you get into the, Jock Landale was just ridiculous in this game. He ties his career high with 26 points. It's a new career high with 5 threes. He becomes the second Hawk ever to have 20, 10, and 5 at least in their debut. The most recent one before this was Big Dog Robinson in 2002. And this guy shows up last night, no practice. He's supposed to be the backup center, not the starter. He ends up being the starter because Kung was out. He's ice cold, like all those things, and he just balls out from the beginning. Like he was just awesome the entire game. 11 rebounds, 5 assists, 26 points, had 4 blocks as well. Like not really his game. And I think hopefully people won't get too carried away. Like he's not going to do this all the time. And defensively, like he's not a huge rim protector, but I thought he gave good effort. He knows how to play. And I would say quickly endearing himself to Hawks fans. He let it fly as a 3-point shooter. I think the Hawks figured out pretty quickly that like having him space the floor offensively was going to help everybody else out, which definitely happened in this game. Just the memorable night for Jock Landale. He was tremendous. Everyone likes the guy by all accounts. So a good deal to acquire him, a good first impression being made by Jock, and a memorable night at the office for him. And then Jalen has a crazy stat game again. 22 points, 16 rebounds, 15 assists for Jalen to go along with 2 blocks as well. He didn't make any threes. He was 0-5. In fact, late into the first half, he had 0 field goals, 0. And then he went crazy after halftime. The passing was always there in this game. He became this is actually the second time in his career he's had 2015 and 15 at least. And he's now in a very exclusive club of players who have ever done that more than once. Again, 2015 and 15. Here are the guys that had done that in their career. Jalen is now one of them. Jokic, Westbrook, Magic Johnson, Giannis, Larry Bird, and Luka Doncic. Hall of Famers all, other than Jalen right now. So that is very, very impressive. Obviously, it's arbitrary cutoffs, but like he was really good. Quinn praised him quite a bit after this game. The fact that he wasn't shooting the ball well and still managed to get all this production. He was much more in attack mode early on. Sorry, in the second half, kind of setting the tone a little bit. So I thought Jalen was good in this one. Defensively, still had the usual hiccups. Had one bad back cut that he allowed to Ace Bailey for a dunk, but Jalen was great, and he is carrying a massive workload. 39 minutes is a lot of minutes for him. Like, hopefully you can keep that down a little bit on nights like this, but we'll see what happens in the future. But I thought Jalen was obviously great, and the 4 guys with 20-plus points were all needed in this one for the Hawks. Okay, before we get out of here, it's been a busy day, busy week, busy everything in Hawksland, but it does not get any easier on the court on Saturday. So this stretch of schedule this month is pretty favorable for the Hawks. But the Charlotte Hornets are absolutely scalding right now. They've won 8 games in a row. The Charlotte Hornets have won 8 games in a row. They are right on the heels of the Hawks now. They are only a game and a half back of the Hawks. In the last couple of weeks, they beat Orlando on the road. They beat San Antonio. They beat Houston on the road tonight. Now, there's been some easy stuff in there as well. They beat Washington. They beat Memphis, Dallas, New Orleans. Like, it's not all been great competition, but they have 3 or 4 good wins in the last 2 weeks. They're playing great offensively. Concanepple, Melo Ball, Brandon Miller, etc. So that's an interesting game in Atlanta. I would say hopefully Okongwu is back. He was on the bench tonight. If I had to guess, I would lean towards Okongwu coming back in that game. He seemed to be at least reasonably close today. He was questionable at one point. So to have him back will be helpful. What we don't know is when the other guys will come and play. So the Hawks did announce tonight during the game, actually before the game and during the game, that the Porzingis Kuminga Hield trade is official, as is the Kennard Vincent trade. And again, for more on the trade analysis, I did that show this afternoon. It's still available in this feed right now, so I will not do that right now. But all the deals are finalized now. The Hawks are not saying just yet when they'll be available. Obviously, Landale was closer. He was able to drive over. Vincent's coming from LA. That's a long way. We'll see about Kuminga and Hield, but they could be available as soon as Saturday. We just don't know that just now. And will they play right away? How's it going to go? Will the Hawks practice tomorrow? Like, there's lots of uncertainty at this point. Also, I don't know when Ansi Saleh will talk to the media. I'm assuming he's going to in the next couple of days, but that's still unannounced right now. So a lot going on for the Hawks, but for now, a good win. And one more plug, please listen and watch all of the trade deadline content over the last few days. It's been a very busy show. Sorry, very busy week on the show. I'm delirious, but hopefully it all made sense to you in some form or fashion. And you can please subscribe to the podcast anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, etc. Please tell your friends as well about the pod. Ratings and reviews appreciated as well. And then follow the show on X/Twitter at Locked On Hawks. Follow me there at BT Rowland. Follow me on Blue Sky if you want to at BT Rowland. And then my Patreon is patreon.com/BT Rowland. Everybody, I'm not sure when the pod will be next. Certainly, if nothing else, after the game on Saturday. So please stay tuned. Lock in. I appreciate you being here as always. And we'll see you all next time.